Hi, everyone. We're doing something a little differently today. We're sharing one of our spicy bonus episodes from Substack right here in the main feed as a special preview. This conversation originally went out to our premium Substack subscribers last week, and we thought you'd love to hear the kind of deeper, more personal discussions we have over there.
In this episode, we get into two topics that have been on our minds. Ongoing debates about school attendance policies because of 2 episodes of More to Say that I did about those policies. And our thoughts on Taylor Allison Swift's latest album announcement. It is exactly the kind of candid, meandering conversation you get when we have some time behind the paywall. Things are a little looser. Things get a little spicier.
So we hope you enjoy this taste of our premium episodes. We do one of these spicy bonus episodes every week on Substack, along with our 2 premium shows, Good Morning and More to Say. There are community discussions and other bonuses like our film club and our slow read of Habits of the Heart.
If you're interested in getting more like this, now's the perfect time to do it. We're running an end of summer sale with 15% off annual subscriptions. So if you love this spicy bonus episode and want more like this, join our Substack community for less today. Use the link in the show notes, but do not delay. This deal ends August 31st.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back here on Friday for our regular episode.
Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, August 14th. Also known as the day after the New Heights podcast.
With Taylor Swift.
So we will talk about that. But first, we are going to continue the conversation we've been having on More to Say this week about attendance. Sarah, you told me that you have so much more to say about that, and I'm excited to hear from you. Well, I've been talking about attendance a lot this week, so I'm going to say one thing, and then I'm mostly interested in your reaction. I would like to share why I came back from break and started with school attendance at a time when there are a lot of things happening in the world. So I have been thinking a lot about how much people want a call to action around news and politics. And I've realized, we've said this for a long time, the calls to action are mostly local. I also want to push on calls to action as just being actions that influence other people. That's what I've realized. Most calls to action in politics are like, write to your legislator or call your rep, donate money to this campaign, tell them you don't want this, try to get people to vote. It's all about influence. And I am oversaturated with influence in every way as a part of our society. So I wanted to kind of focus on some things where there are actually things that we can do, including personal behavior changes. And I knew that would be controversial and difficult, but I want to get into it. I also think that the stuff in this sphere where our personal behavior beyond influence matters is a place where we can resolve some of the things that make us so angry when we get to national politics. We clearly are unhappy with schools right now. That is a sentiment underlying so much of the way people behave in national politics. So I thought, well, let's go for it. Let's get into it in a really specific way.
Well, as a proud women's studies minor, you don't have to convince me that the personal is political. I do think it has become a political stance that any pursuit of personal productivity or self-help, particularly with the entrance of MAHA, is to be scoffed at. You're to roll your eyes at that. And I disagree. I love the pursuit of personal improvement. It is perhaps the most central aspect of my personality. And it is not because I'm a perfectionist or hyper self-critical. It's because what we do every day has enormous impact on ourselves and other people. Your personal improvement matters to everybody you're in relationship with. And I think personal improvement became, for a lot of reasons, including the wellness industry, only about diet and exercise. That was it. Those were your 2 avenues of pursuit. And I think there's such a great place to think about personal improvement in the way you interact with your church, or the way you interact with nonprofits and committee members, or where you interact with the school system. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I read some of the comments on these more to says, or particularly in the Instagram post about this more to say. And I want to give everybody the pep talk that I gave my 16-year-old when he gets really, really prickly about any criticism, which is, are you perfect? Because what I hear from you is that you're perfect and everything you do is great. Other people suck, but everything you do is great. It doesn't make you, let me give you my ever-present Sarah pep talk. Doesn't make you a bad person if you screw up. But you do screw up because you are not perfect. In all areas of your life, it does not matter how passionate you are about them, including your children. I am not a perfect parent. I make parenting mistakes. Full stop. I have and continue to make mistakes with regards to my children's education, with regards to their extracurricular activities, with regards to their college preparedness. Like, I can try hard and still screw up. It's not a judgment on my worth as a person or a parent or how much I love my child. You know, I have to carry that in a different way because the stakes around my kid are very high with Felix's diabetes. I could screw up and Felix could die. Full stop. First of all of us could screw up and our children could die. I know nobody likes to hear that, but that is the reality of a human existence. And so I just have to live with that in a more ever-present way. And so I had to really come to Jesus with, I can screw up, there can be bad consequences, and I still loved my child. And it's just like in this conversation about something as simple as school attendance, you just hear, like I could just hear the roar of all that background of, no, but I love my kid and I'm trying the hardest and that means I'm doing the best all the time. Babe, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And that's true for teachers and social workers and principals and parents. We're all trying really hard and we're all smart and we care and we're probably doing it for all the right reasons and still we fuck up. And that is the truth, even though the stakes are high involving kids. And we fuck up. And everybody needs to face that or we're not going to get anywhere.
Well, and I even take a step back from that and say, you might be doing absolutely right by your child. For your child, these things may be true. These may be the right decisions. But public school is a public venture, and it is about something more than our children. When we choose to send our kids to a public school, we are choosing to be involved in something bigger than ourselves. We are choosing to say, this might not be the best for my kid, but it is the thing that's happening. We talk about that all the time in my house. Like, I am not going to move you because you have a bad teacher, unless you have a teacher who is so bad that they probably shouldn't be in that school. You know what I mean? Because having a bad manager or boss or annoying person who has some authority in your life will always be part of your existence. And it's something that you need to work with. And it's not all about you. They divide these classes the way they divide these classes for reasons that affect the whole. And those values are important to me. I don't begrudge people who make different choices, but that's the choice that I've made. And so when we have our kids in public school, I just want people to be cognizant. Like, you may still decide, you may listen to these episodes and you may still be like, yeah, we're taking a 10-day trip in the middle of February when school is on, and I don't feel a bit bad about it. Fine. Good for you. I just want you to think for a second about the broader implications of that and to see it a little bit differently, and for that choice to be informed by what it means for the teacher, for the class, for the whole system. I was happy when I read in one of the Facebook comments, I think it was Morgan who said, I decided I could feel defensive about this, or I decided I could just be confident in my decision that travel is more important than some of these instructional days for my kid. And I thought, that's fine. Like, I would like to move everybody away from, one, feeling like we are all perfect and can't ever mess up. I totally agree with you. And then two, also from just the sense of fragility. Like, if you hear something that feels critical to you, first ask, was this really about me? And was it intended to be critical? But also, if it was, I can handle that. I've been called naive, West Wing, living in the fantasy world all week because of my take on gerrymandering. I'm okay. Like, people can, we just have to be able to, like, live with some of that friction.
Well, and look, to your very first statement as the Enneagram 1, I want to say to everybody, you are never doing absolutely right by your child. Let that standard go. That's a lie. Like, Beth is nice than me, but, like, you can't stop. And, like, I think the reason I have such a higher threshold for that is because diabetes tells me that 6 ways. Diabetes doesn't give a shit about my feelings or how defensive I am or anything. It's going to give me feedback that I cannot argue with all day, every day. And look, that is a really, I don't know what kind of exercise. I don't want to say life-giving because it steals my sleep too much for it to be life-giving. But there is a little bit of me that, like, I wish people could do it for, like, a week and just get that, like, because you just can't hold it. It's sort of like, it's like how you get around people who have, like, 5, 6, 7 kids. They just operate on a different plane because they can't. It honestly, to jump ahead in the conversation, it reminds me of Taylor Swift. I thought some of the most interesting parts of that New Heights conversation was her talking about her relationship to the internet and feedback because she couldn't. She's one of the most famous people in the world. She can't. It wouldn't work. And there's a real gift when you get to a spot in your life where you're like, forget it. I can't carry the idea that I'm going to do best by my kids. I'm not. This is my first trip through life. I'm going to screw things up. Their teachers are going to screw things up. Like, and it's just to feel defensive about that. Nobody loves travel more than me. Nobody. I mean, that's not probably true. There are probably people that love travel than me. We all know I prioritize travel in my children's lives. I didn't feel an ounce defensive about that. Like, because I don't think that you put travel and public education in the same categories of learning or experiences. Like, I know there are people who, like, travel and homeschool, and that's cool. And yeah. To me, as you just kept talking about this, I just thought, like, we've lost the plot on what people are supposed to do in school. Because what you hear people is like, I want school to fix this for me and my kids and everybody else's kids, but I'm not responsible for any of it. Like, there's just this real disjointed way we talk about solving problem, like, and you can just, the undercurrent of, like, who's actually responsible for this? Like, after I listened to both episodes, my friend came over who works in a high school, and she told this lovely story about how this man, he knows every kid in the school and he cares about them so much, and how these 2 kids lost their parent, and he knew about it immediately, and they called him in, and it was, they counseled him, and what do you need, and all that. And that sounds so lovely, doesn't it? They knew these children by name and need. But because I just listened to both your episodes, I said, but is that y'all's job? Is it the public school system's job to counsel a child through grief of losing a parent? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it is. I don't think it is your job. You're not a grief counselor. I think it's great that you knew about it, but I also know that sometimes, especially with kids, they just want to have some routine and they just want to stay normal. Not every kid. I can already hear the chorus of 10,000 voices, but they can't learn if they're in crisis and PT. I know all that, guys. But we have put so much on schools to do everything except for teach. And I think it's showing up in the fact that they're not learning. And we're passing people through who haven't learned. And the part, Beth, oh my God. And it was just sort of like a throwaway line that you said.
I mean, I try not to have throwaway lines, but, like, I hear you.
You didn't, like, when you said we have eliminated the bell curve and it's bimodal, and I thought, that's it. That's what this is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
This is, like, I'm sorry, I'm filibustering. I told my friends about this. Like, I was at the post office, and the screen where you pay with your credit card, like the payment machine, popped up one of those review things. Like, red frowny face, yellow, green. You know what I'm talking about. And I said, oh, I love these. Because I hate asking for, I don't want to write a paragraph for every visit to Hardee's. Leave me alone. But I don't mind giving simple feedback like that.
Yeah.
And she said, you'd be surprised by how many people are confused by that. And I said, what? But I'm not surprised, because if you talk to people who work with the Gen Pop, the stories they tell will curl your hair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do we? So when you said that, I was like, that's it. That's it. And I told my friend at the school system, I said, I think that we are so focused on the low end of that bimodal cohort or the high needs, however you want to describe it, of that bimodal high needs outside of learning, that like we've lost learning. The learning has fallen by the wayside. Like that, like, you know, like there's a like that New York Times piece about like, what do we do? What's the purpose here? Is the purpose a rigorous education? Because that's not what's happening. I just thought you got to a lot there with just attendance.
Big shout out to Shannon who said that to me about the bimodal. And she was describing college students, but I thought, man, that's everything. That is everything in all the places, everywhere, all the things.
What's so crazy is I'd had a teacher in our school system describe our school system as that. And I thought it was just our school system. But I kept, like, I wanted to sit down with you after our break around, like, a lot of conversations and say, like, hey, is everybody just dumb? I don't mean to be ugly about it. Are we just, is there an idiocracy problem here? Like, I've kind of been, like, batting that around in my head. I keep joking with my kids, like, we need to bring hell back. I just think people need some stakes. I'm worried there are not enough stakes in life. Like, no, it does matter. The stakes are high, and you're not going to get them right all the time. So let's talk about that. And so when you said that, it really did. It was like a puzzle piece fit in. And I thought, yeah, this is the school systems. This is our politics. This is our culture. This is AI. This is so many things right now where we have people who are trying so hard. And so if you say, hey, we're going to still screw up because we're not perfect, they go, but look at them over there. Like, look at the other end of this bimodal system. They're an idiocracy. How dare you critique me?
Yeah. And I don't know how to get out of that without reaching into these topics.
You don't like my hell idea?
Well, I mean, I don't like your hell idea. I hear you. I think it's very funny and clever. But no, I don't like your hell idea. Because I would like more people to come back to church too and like have a positive experience with church that isn't dependent on big scary hell. But I get it. Like, I don't know what to do, though, besides reach into some of these places where we're unhappy and say, listen, you are being conditioned in every space to just give the review, to do the frowning face or the smiley face. And actually, if you don't like it, there are pieces on your end to think about, too. And my end, like I said in the series, no judgment. I took my kids out of school last year and took them to Disney. Like, I'm not like, perfect Beth, telling everybody what they're doing wrong out there. I am investigating with you what is working here and what's not working, both in how I behave and how I think through these decisions. I am trying to be in it with you, but I want us to all be in it instead of just acting like if we want school to be better, we need to elect better people for the Board of Education and we need to, send an email to the school demanding a meeting because, again, that's all consumer influence culture. And sure, a lot of that is really important. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from those efforts, but it's more than that. It's a lot more than that, especially in a public school system.
Well, I just think we don't need judgment. There's plenty of that on the internet. And because there is so much of it, that's like people's default response. But what we are desperate for is more analysis. I don't know who sent this to our group chat in Instagram, but it was this Gen Xer being like, we used to do this thing. It was crazy. Let me explain it to you. It was called critical thinking. And it's like back to that bimodal. Like, I think all of us have lost critical thinking. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence on tomorrow's episode. I'm sure that will be a component of that conversation.
Yeah.
But the idea that, again, you're not perfect, and there is room for improvement, and that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're a human being. Norma and I, we're big in the Stoics. I love it. I read the Daily Stoic every morning. And it's just shocking. This is not new. This is not new. They have been saying this stuff forever. You have to constantly be striving towards a goal. You have to constantly be striving towards prioritization. You have to constantly have a critical analysis of yourself and your decisions because you are a human with flawed emotions, flawed thinking, and flawed reactions. And we feed off those amongst ourselves. And I don't know if it was, we had been talking about this consumer culture and influencer culture on Pantsuit Politics for 10 years. I definitely think that the pandemic, sort of accelerated this idea of like, I get to do what I want to do. But you know what? You don't. I don't want to say that any more plainly. No, you don't. You live in a world with other people. You don't get to just do what you want to do all the goddamn time. Like, I'm sorry. Can you tell I live with teenagers? Like, I hear that undercurrent of like, you owe me perfect and I owe you shit. And it's everywhere in American culture right now. And it is particularly present in the public school system.
Well, I want to address the people for whom these hit a real soft spot because they have a child genuinely struggling in school. Like 100%, I hear you and care about that. And what I really hoped to do with these episodes was to be sensitive to all that without watering down the thread that for everyone, attendance still matters. I think this is another pervasive in American life right now. When you say, here is the thing. This is just true. Like we see it as a through line and this is just true. All of us have these like bridges that go up around it to say, here's why that's not true for me. And if you don't understand why it's not true for me, you're not respecting my bridges. You don't understand my struggle. You don't care about me. You don't care why this is difficult. And I just kind of want to start really working on those, bringing those bridges down. One of the most important people in my life has been fighting in court up through the appellate courts for a special needs child at school, for her daughter, who I love, who the public schools have failed. So, like, I am with you in this struggle. I care a lot about school being able to be a place where every child can learn. My friend is not asking for the school to be everything for her daughter, but she is asking for the school to be a place where her daughter can learn. And that is, I think, just circling back to what are we asking of schools? So someone commented like, it really hurts me to hear you say school can't be everything when I have a special needs child. No, I want school to be appropriate, a place of appropriate learning for your child, whatever those needs are. And that is a big enough ask. I don't want school to be anyone's doctor, therapist, social worker, support system. And that doesn't mean I don't want you to have those things. I want you to have them in places where you can get them better. I want you to have them I want us to figure out how to wrap around all the needs that kids have. But I want to do it in a way where those things work. And this is my problem with schools right now. I just think we've asked them for so much, like you said, that they can't do the educating. And when we start talking about how they can educate better with something as simple as like, I need kids to show up consistently, we go like, can't do it. So I really want to work on those bridges, and that is going to offend people sometimes. And I am sorry about that. But I believe we can handle it. And I think it's important that we do.
I'm not sorry. I am in a real place of a couple things. The terminal uniqueness, which is a term from the 12-step program, is rampant right now. And I don't know why I decided early in my parenting journey that I wrote a blog piece very early on that said, like, I welcome unsolicited parenting advice. People get so offended these old ladies say shit to you. Those old ladies raised like 6 kids. Your precious baby's not that unique. They probably have something to offer. Like, so I just really put myself in a space that, like, I'm new to this. I need input. I don't have to take it all, but I'm going to take the input. Now, I like input overload. I understand other people don't. But like this idea that like you're so terminally unique, no one understands your struggle is so toxic and deeply, deeply problematic that I would like all of us to like examine in ourselves where we do that, because we all do it. We all decide that nobody understands. I'm an Enneagram 1. I go to 3. That's like my stress behavior. No one understands. I am alone in this. I will pull out my only child, the fact that I don't have a sister, the fact that I have a daughter, and I'll just stroke them like delicate little pets because I have this very unique thing that I'm missing that everybody else has that I don't. And like I can do it. And it's shit. It makes me feel crappy. It doesn't help anything. And so, like, I have to watch that in myself, and I think we all do it. As a person who, at different points, the school system has failed my child, because here's what I'd like to posit. The school system will fail children. It does not mean the school system is failing. We are a country of 330 million people. We are diverse. We are not going to build a system with no fail points. Not going to happen. So we need to let that expectation go, because I came in with expectations of the school system that were like rose-colored glasses looking back on my existence. You know, my elementary school experience as an only girl child, that was not the right expectations. And I even had some like crazy, I had a teacher tape my mouth shut. That's crazy. And she's still one of my favorite teachers. What does that tell you about some of our language around trauma and mistreatment of children? You know, like, I just think we need to shift from the idea of like any failure is all failure. And I would like to again, throw something out there that your sensitivities can very easily be reframed as strengths. When I told myself I am stronger because of what I go through with my kids, particularly Felix, instead of I am sensitive, it changed everything. No, I'm strong. I'll never forget when I lost a pregnancy at 20 weeks. My friend Holly, somebody was like, "Are you okay?" And she had also lost a baby at 20 weeks, right near when I did. Wiped my ass out for like 2 months. Somebody asked Holly, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Oh, no, I had a baby at 16. I'm fine." And I just thought, that's who I want to be. I want to be somebody who's like, "Oh no, life can throw some shit at me." It has. And I showed that I could handle it. And so like, I just think we need to like reframe so many ways about how we talk about struggles and failures and our expectations. And it all shows up profoundly when we talk about parenting and when we talk about school systems, because the stakes are high. And also, like, you know, I used to always tell myself, like, I subscribe to the Jacqueline Kennedy School of Parenting. It's really the one thing you can't screw up. And I thought, that's so fucked up. Of course you're going to screw it up. Like, yes, they're the one things that you shouldn't screw up. And also, you're going to screw it up because you're a human being. And we have to just release some of that expectation, because we just keep piling them on and piling them on. And the kids are getting like crunched underneath it all.
Well, and that goes to the stakes. The stakes are high, but not as high as we act like they are. I do not know a single adult. I was just kind of indexing my closest people. I don't know a single adult without childhood trauma in some form. It's a huge range of childhood trauma of the people that I know. But everybody has some, you know? I was telling stories about my elementary school to Ellen while I visited my parents over our break. She could not believe the things teachers said to me, the things I witnessed them doing, especially like the paddling in the hall of other kids until they were worn out from it. You know, like it was crazy. It was not good. I am glad we're not doing that stuff anymore. I bring it up to say the stakes are high, but not as high as we act like they are. Like people can persevere through the things that happen. And I do worry that some of the messages that our kids get right now is we don't believe you are able to persevere. I think all the time about a conversation I had with a guidance counselor where she was telling me about this huge list of middle school kids who cannot bear a fire alarm.
Oh,
and it was her job to take them out of the building before a fire alarm went off. And she said, you know, I think about this all the time about whether I am contributing to their sensitivity and their anxiety instead of helping them manage it and come up with techniques to get through it. And she said, I really think I've got to come up with a new approach to this next year because I'm watching this and just realizing, like, why would I tell them, no, you can't handle a fire alarm? Of course you can handle a fire alarm. Like, that's what they should hear from me.
That's crazy. What do we think the children in Ukraine are doing when the sirens go off? I mean, come on. Like,
it's hard. I get that it's hard. Like, a lot depends on where you start, right?
But is it hard or is it normal? This is where I think we've lost the plot. Life is hard. That is normal. It's not abnormal. It's not a trauma. You haven't done anything wrong. You're not a bad person. It is what it's like to exist as a human being on planet Earth. It's hard. I don't know what So, to the trauma of it all, I read an incredible book over the summer. Our break. I'm making it sound like I read it over like about 3 months. It's called Blazing Eye Sees All. Love Has Won False Prophets and the Fever Dream of the American New Age by Leah Sottile. It was so good. It was so good on so many levels. I'm not going to try not to go about a rabbit hole about how good the whole book was, but at the end, she spent a lot of time profiling these women throughout history who have had these profound religious experiences and how they channeled them basically into cults. That's just the nice way to put it. But how people get wrapped up in the cults because they also have religious, spiritual, I forgot the word they call it, but like a spiritual breakthrough, basically, or a spiritual sort of, it sounds very much like people are describing what happens when you take hallucinogenics. Like the sort of filters fall away. They can see everything. Sometimes without hallucinogenics, like this just happens to them and they're like, holy shit, what do I do with this? Okay. So this woman who's been through this over the course of her life has set up basically like a 12-step support group for people who have this experience. Because she's like, that's why they go to the cult, because no one else is talking about it. No one else is putting words around it. No one else is saying, you're not crazy. I mean, that's what sort of Western medicine, traditional psychology says to them. You're crazy. And so when a cult leader goes, no, you're not, they go, great, I love you. So this one is trying to put some like framework around this, okay? So they get to the end, they're talking about this, and she says, when asked if any sort of traumatic experience had sent them spiraling, Marie Grace pushed back. I mean, trauma's really popular right now. It's a little highly suspect. A lot of people making a lot of money off creating this department called trauma. And I thought, Marie Grace is on to something there. Like, it's too, when something becomes so big and all-encompassing and everyone's using it all the time, like, if it's not germ theory, I don't know. I think we should take a step back and be like, hold up a minute. Hold up.
I think it had to happen that way for us to get out of treating children horribly.
Listen, we only started giving, like, babies painkillers in the 90s. Like, we were messed up on this for a while.
And look, I'm going to talk about this next weekend more to say. A lot of children are still being treated really horribly. But to get to this place in schooling specifically where we recognize kids are bringing a lot to school, a lot of things are happening to them and around them at home that affect their learning. We needed that. We absolutely needed that. And we probably needed to go to the place of saying, how do we address all those needs? And how do we develop more sensitivity? And now I think it's just about calibration. Okay, how do we put these pieces together? Both that you are coming in with so much that impacts your learning, and that we still believe that you can learn, and we want you to do that here. Like, what is the way that we get to that path? And that cannot be answered just by schools. That has to be a community endeavor. And this is another place where I think school offers a cure to some of the national malaise. We aren't trying to fix the whole system. You can start by saying, what makes Mrs. Smith's 4th grade class this year more focused on higher learning? Okay, we're going to get our attendance up. What else can we do? Mrs. Smith, tell me, what do you need this year? And you can see progress and make a real difference. You don't have to know how to fix the whole system to have an enormous impact on what 30 kids are going to do and experience this year.
Well, I think that's it. They're systems, and guess what? We're a part of them. We anthropomorphize them, and we make it the system, the education system, the church system, the political system. And it's that Rob Bell thing we talk about all the time. Like, well, we are the committee. We are a part of the system. If the system is not functioning as we would like it to, then we have to talk about our own behaviors. It's not like, but there's always that like externalizing. Well, we're going to go fix it. No, baby, we have to fix us. Like, we are a part of the system. And so if we think we're going to fix anything without also fixing us, fix is not usually a word I prefer to use around human beings. But, it's like I think all the time about Jason Kanders realizing that there was not just post-traumatic syndrome, but there was post-traumatic growth. Or maybe that's where we're at as a culture. It's time to get to post-traumatic growth. It's time to fight for higher standards. It's time for rules. And if you don't follow the rules, there are consequences. That's how life works. It's like we got to this place where we thought we would avoid, I don't know, like all discomfort or conflict. I don't think it turned out great. I think it's turned out badly.
Well, and again, I just think it has turned out to where we make everything someone else's problem. Mm-hmm. So I also really wanted to say with this series and with other things I'm thinking about for the future, like if I don't have a kid in the public schools, but I still have opinions about the public schools, what's my role? And I really do. I would love to see a campaign that had the Moms for Liberty energy behind it, that level of intensity on like, hey, people who provide services to kids have some appointments available outside the school day. People who homeschool, help us talk this up or join this initiative or be part of these extracurricular activities. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a business owner, think about how your business benefits from the public school system in the place where you operate and what you can give back to it. We need bus drivers. We need substitute teachers. These are public-private partnership opportunities just waiting to happen. And I just want to see more of us saying like, okay, who am I to this system? Because I am a part of it.
Well, to the homeschooling, private schooling, we all say the kids are the goal. But I think the reality of how we treat homeschooling, private schooling, religious education, and public education as if they are teams that are in competition with each other instead of boats rowing in the same direction, hopefully, which is to educate the next generation of Americans, speaks to that we aren't really worried about the stakes of the next generation. We're worried about our turf and our priorities and our multi-million-dollar industries. I'm looking at you, EdTech. I was in an SBDM meeting, and they said, well, the EdTech company says it takes about a year or two to get this math curriculum going. And I thought, what about those year or two of kids? They're just screwed. They don't get to learn math. That's a crazy thing to say out loud. And so I just think that so often, especially in American politics, we just go to the kids. That means you're a good person. Even with all the Epstein stuff, y'all don't give a shit about those girls that were victimized. Give me a break. Like, that's not what this is about. It's not about protecting young women. This is about going after elites. That's what you're mad at. It's about who you're mad at, not who you're trying to protect.
Because if we did, we would care a lot more about the fact that most of those girls were not victimized for the first time by Jeffrey Epstein. Most of those girls were victimized by someone else, and that put them in a position to be targeted by Epstein and his network of recruiters and accomplices. Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think, and I mean, again, I'm trying to turn a critical eye toward myself more than anyone else. A lot of the decisions that we make and the things that we have, strong reactions to coming from the school system are about our experiences of them as family members.
Yeah. You made my life hard.
Yes. And I mean, and I've complained about that many, many times. And so I'm just trying to think, okay, it made my life hard, but it's not about me. How does this service a child? And I do want to think more about that with ed tech. I don't remember where this comment came up, but someone said it feels like my kids go to school and are playing video games all day. And that is what a lot of those math and reading programs feel like. And I know that they're supposed to feel that way. Like that's supposed to be the draw of it. But that is not a draw to me,
No.
right? And
it doesn't teach them they can do hard things. It doesn't teach them anything.
I don't think the kids want that from their school day either. I really don't. I think that's a view of kids as not wanting school to be a place of rigorous learning and education that we just gotta change. And that's another nice thing. A lot can change around a school in a really positive way for everyone if we'll dig into it.
All right, do we want to talk about Taylor? I did wear the appropriate color.
You did. Good job.
I manifested this. I dreamt about Taylor Swift like Sunday, maybe? And I've never dreamt about her before. But like I dreamt we were hanging out and like talking. And I wore orange today. And there was another thing, but we talked about it. We talked about it on the show.
Yeah. Now, I did not think we would get a new album this year.
I didn't either. But now that I hear she recorded it during the tour, that makes more sense to me.
I think that's bananas. I can't believe she recorded a whole album during the tour.
But like that tracks with me. I just thought like, I don't think they both got off from these intense seasons of work. And she was like, I'm going to go right back into the studio. Her making the bread and him playing the video games, that was my vision of what was happening. So I feel very confirmed in that.
I hope that that's the real thing that's happening. You know, I watched the New Heights podcast, most of it. I tuned out a little bit when they got into like the otters and, you know.
Oh, I thought that was so funny. I love that when she was like, he wants to rescue one and then have it love him forever. I was dying.
Yeah, I was not. I was
also,
like,
I love otters. So I get it.
But, you know, I watched that whole thing thinking these are incredibly savvy business people. And I think that we are getting the version of this that they want us to get. And I don't distrust it. I'm not mad at it. But I also don't believe that is in any way the full story. I absolutely do not believe that she's just baking the bread and he's just playing the video games. Like that is just not the level at which these people operate. So I would be not surprised at all if she's working on something else right now and has been the whole time. Like she can't do these Easter eggs unless she's planning out far in advance. What I thought came through in the most authentic way in the interview is just how much she loves this. She loves making stuff. She loves that the fans get absorbed in every detail of what she makes. And good for her. But I don't think that they're just chilling right now at all.
Oh, I totally disagree. That was not my take at all. I watched it and I thought these two people adore each other. I thought they have been having a lot of fun together. I thought the sharing of her parents' medical stuff and how they handled that was very personal and very sort of like a window into them. And I thought, well, that's why they got married. They were dealing with this stuff. Because that's a lot. Like her parent, and you know how close her family is. Like yeah. I thought, like, okay, well that's putting this timeline into some perspective for me. I think a lot about a video I saw about her a long time ago where she was decorating apartments. I think interior design's like always been a big thing for her, which I identify with. And so I think there was just a part of this, like, it feels to me like that's her flow. She goes all in and then she goes all home and then she goes all in and then she goes all home. Because you'd have to. I mean, when she talks about the level of physicality, that was really struck me from the conversation of like, just the level of training that requires. And that's a football season, true. Like all in, and then you have to, if you're that savvy of a business person and and it involves that much level of athleticism, like, and I thought it was interesting the way they talked about, like, they do the same things and they just call it different things. Like, you have to have an off season. You have to have an off season.
But there's a lot of reporting about how hard Travis is working in this off season. How Travis has been training harder in this off season than he ever has because he knows he's older and he wants to get back to the Super Bowl. And that's how I think they both are. Like, I just think they both are workaholics. I don't think any of that's exclusive with what you said about how much they adore each other. I do think they're having a lot of fun. And I think there is always with both of them a component of they're super competitive and they want to be at the top of their respective fields, and they intend to stay there.
Yeah, I mean, they're industries now at this point. I love the fact that she's got such a healthy attitude towards the feedback about what she does and the comments and the internet culture and like listening to the back and forth between them is just something you can't fake. That's not like, to me, it didn't feel like some sort of like, we're just revealing enough. Like the level of intimacy they had with each other it's just something that's going to come across. And I don't think you can fake it. It's why I never bought Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith the whole time they were separated. I thought something was weird between these two. Because I think humans are, even through the lens of editing and pop culture, the one thing the internet has strengthened, even as we already had this instinct, is like we're just social animals and we just pick up on that stuff so well. And those two are so into each other. I find it so cute. I thought their sense of humor was really funny, and the way they are like, I loved the thing about like we do a bit and then we're like, wait, are you serious? I'm serious. Are you serious? Was so cute and charming. And it's clear that like she is very close to his family and he is very close to her family, and the way they kind of talked about all of that. I just loved it. I thought it was a real treat for humanity.
Yeah, I think they're fun and adorable. And like I said, I don't distrust any of that connection. I don't think they're lying about anything. I don't think they're purposely hiding anything. I think they're making decisions about just about everything.
But that was so interesting, though, because they said, like, it sounded like the podcast was like a just happenstance. Like, that his producer was like, Jason, or whatever the guy's name was, like, he always wants me to ask. He wanted him to ask Taylor all the time. Like, if he was savvy and he knew she was savvy, to me, he would have asked her. When the producer first said, was like, oh yeah, this is such a smart thing for both of us to do. Let's do it. Like, this is like the blowing up of all our realms. And the fact that he was like, I don't even know why. I just didn't want to ask her. I thought that was so interesting.
I think that's because he loves her. I think it had to come from her. She has more power in this relationship. She has more status than he has. She's clearly way smarter than he is. I think if he had asked her, he's probably always, at least for some portion of their relationship, trying to make sure that she didn't feel like he was just trying to punch his ticket with her. I think it had to come from her end that she would do this.
But you know what I mean? Like, if it's both, like, if it's all just like business acumen, like it would.
I don't think it's all business acumen.
Yeah.
But I think there's a huge, healthy percentage of that at work all the time. And part of that is what made it interesting for me to watch. Like, when you are setting trends and tone as much as she is, particularly, and when you are because as much as she doesn't pay attention to the internet, she also absolutely knows what the fans are talking about. She knows what conspiracy theories they're picking up, what meaning they're making of her symbols, whatever her process is for that. She's getting it all in some way, and it's meaningful to her. And so I just like watching like what they choose to do, the times that they choose to do it, the aesthetic of it all, like just kind of where they think things are going interests me a lot, because that business lens is always there. I believe it is both true to her and calculated and really sophisticated in her strategy.
Yeah, I thought the whole thing about her Easter eggs, I always kind of thought that was overplayed and people were making it up. So to hear her say like, oh, no. I plant the Easter eggs. I was like, that's crazy, girl. That's a crazy thing to do. But I love the way she just articulated, my job is to make these fans happy. But then at other times she was like, this is my life. The art is my life. So the way she can sort of like, at times she's talking about it like it's like her vocation. Like, I can't do anything but write music. That's what I have to do. And at other times is talking about it very strategically with relationships to the fan. I mean, it's just, I think it's probably like a highly evolved over time. And as she's gotten older, lens on her work that I think is really, really smart and seems to be serving her well. And I'm just glad that she now has the personal life to go with it, because again, I'm ready for the wedding and babies lyrics, babe. I'm ready for them.
And you layer into all of this the fact that she definitely has a lot of relationships, definitely holds grudges. I think it's so interesting that she's releasing this album on Mean Girls Day, because there is this whole theory out there about her titling it The Life of a Showgirl, because is he still Ye or is he Kanye West again?
I don't know. Who cares? Are we listening?
Okay, well,
I mean, sorry.
That person who we know she has real beef with has an album called The Life of something, right? And it's orange. And people were like, she is taking this from him. Anytime you search for The Life of now, it's going to be hers. Like, she is wiping that off the map for him. And she's releasing it on Mean Girls Day. Like, there's always like this little layer of just like personal petty score settling that she does too,
I hope that's
which I
just
think is fun.
Fan service, and she's really not carrying a grudge for Kanye West because he is ill and broken, and surely she can see that. Like, it's interesting to see like how much of this is about you and how much of this is you just giving people things to play with. Yeah. You know, like I really, the way she talks about listening to her in this interview, I wouldn't be surprised if she still has like pettiness towards Kanye West. I wouldn't be surprised if she's like, give the people something to chew on.
Thank you, Amy, though. That was real. Like,
but again,
I think it's there.
That's what's hard. Is it? Or is that fan service? Is that just giving people something to gnaw on? Is it because she's still laying in bed at night? I mean, what is clear, abundantly clear, where you get the Venn diagram of her personal emotions and her business acumen and her artistry and her creativity was the Masters. No doubt about that. Everybody, the way she continued to tear up when she said, I sent my mom and my brother to talk to the people who owned her masters. Like, that's it. You can see, and that makes sense to me. That tracks. Like, I'm like, okay, yep, that puzzle piece fits. That makes sense to me that's where all those things align. The fans, this, all of that. I loved her talking about, like, people thought it wasn't even the contract because it was such a crazy thing to do. Like, I love that shit. I love when a woman in business is like, it's like when Oprah did the book club. Like, you think I'm crazy, and I made a whole new thing. Like, I just created something out of cloth, out of something you told me was so stupid nobody would, like, do it, right? Like, that gives me life. But the pettiness about, like, her still carrying a grudge about Kanye West. I'm like, your fans carry the pettiness for you, and you just want to feed that. Like, maybe you are so happy and so grateful and so fulfilled having your masters. If you're still mad at Kanye, you need to work that out in therapy.
Maybe, but like also all people contain a lot of ththings. You know, some of the most highly evolved, grounded people I know, you know, have some things that you're like, huh. I'm surprised that you're dealing with it this way. So I like any piece of her that seems like it could be of a just true like human flaw. You know, like I love that when she actually does a somewhat long form interview, you can tell that she is both. Well, not just both. She is incredibly confident, so strategic, so competitive, but also has a lot of insecurity. Like there is a piece of her that like wants the numbers every time, wants the awards every time. Like clearly delights in her being the sun and Travis being the moon, reflecting her light back to her, you know? And good for her. She's a person. Like, she is a juggernaut. She is an icon. She is a corporation. And she's a person. And I like that. I like it when we get to see kind of all of that at once.
Yeah, I just like this because she is usually so tightly controlled in all her public communications. And so seeing this, like her very first podcast interview was just crazy. And just seeing how warm and authentic and just their body language, they're kind of like wrapped around each other the whole time. I just loved it. I thought it was so good. I thought if it was strategic, it was a good move.
Well, and I will say truly my favorite part was seeing how Jason reacted to the way she talks about Travis. It's like, it's so fun. I remember it made me think about when I first met Chad's friends who are really like brothers to him, and the way that they responded to how delighted we were with each other was really, really cool. And it was fun to see that in Jason.
Yeah, that was really sweet. It was great.
Okay.
I was right, Elise. Elise was like, we're going to get the album this week. I said, I don't think so, Elise. That's crazy. They said it's shipping in October. And I was right. I just want to get that dig in.
But I will say, one of my favorite things that happened in our live show weekend is I got to have lunch with Elise before everybody really got in and everything kicked up. And it's fun to spend time with Elise when she's not managing us and our whole thing. and to see her in a different way. And I was watching this interview thinking, I totally get why Elise is like the hardest core Swiftie of our team. I completely see why Elise enjoys her so much, why they think the same way, why the same things are funny and interesting to them. So that connection was really fun to make watching this.
I'm sure everybody has lots of thoughts on this
Mm-hmm.
and everything else we've said in this episode. So we keep saying we're going to start making these shorter now that we're recording. We're done with the series, but that's not turning out to be true.
So we'll look forward to continuing this conversation in the comments, and we're going to go record tomorrow's episode about AI. Everybody have the best Thursday available to you.